Why does this boat look like a crime scene? So I last week spent the whole week sailing around the British Virgin Islands with four other people. We rented a big sailboat, and that's where we stayed for the whole week. And we were sailing around, and it was a great time. But one of the downsides to something like that is there's lots of little things you need to have to fasten things in place. So, for example, the cushions on the seats outside had straps that were then buckled into these little metal or plastic, actually. They were these plastic clasps that you clasped on. And those little clasps had little sharp edges that, for most of us, not a big deal. You avoid it, you go around it, you get scraped by it and lose a few layers of skin. Not the end of the world. Um, Two of the people I was sailing with, one is in his 70s, one is about to turn 70 in a few months. So they have very thin skin, and at least one of them is on a blood thinner. So when he bleeds, he just keeps bleeding. So the result is they kept getting snagged on these little, all of these little sharp objects that, again, not that sharp. I don't want to make it seem like this boat was a death trap. It's just if you have thin skin, which people of a certain age tend to have, and it gets caught, then you end up bleeding all over the place. So my point is that the boat ended up looking like a crime scene. We'd be anywhere on the boat going, wait, whose blood is that? Why is there blood in this on this seat or on this back of this chair? Or is that blood or is it chocolate or is it ketchup or it was always a little iffy. So we were laughing because if we had, of course, we cleaned up after ourselves before returning the boat that we had rented. But we were laughing about the fact that if you just walked onto this boat and saw blood everywhere, you would definitely think a crime had happened. And obviously that was not the case. So what does this have to do with marketing? I promise it's relevant. Data that you glean from social media, from people on your website, from people searching for you on Google, that data is great and it can tell you a lot, but it's not the full story, right? If you're just looking at the data, it's kind of like looking at those blood stains and blood splatters all over the boat without actually hearing the story of how the all of that blood got to be there. And again, I say all that blood, it makes it sound like it was buckets. It was not buckets. It was a scrape here, it was a scrape there, it was a drop there, it was a dribble there. Not a big deal at all, but enough that for if you are someone like me who tends to watch crime shows, it's always that one spot of blood that the killer missed that gives it away, right? So that is the joke there. But what you needed was to actually talk to the people using the boat, i.e., us, to understand the full story of how the blood got there. Whereas if you just look at the blood stains, it tells one story, and that is not the story at all. So as far as how this relates to marketing, it's all about, yes, get the data. Data is awesome. It is not the full story. It does not beat actually having real live conversations. And I say live, it can be in person. It could also be over Zoom. It could even be over the phone, right? It does not have to be literally in the same room with them. Technology is wonderful. It allows us to have all these conversations. So, first of all, there are ways to glean that information online. You can have surveys in your newsletters. You can have people respond to your newsletters. You can have surveys on social media and on your website to dig more into the story, which again is great and do that, but also don't skip over actually having real conversations with people. So that is it. That is my tip for you today, is to drive safe. And if you are renting a boat, make sure that maybe some baby protectors for people who are of a certain age could be helpful. But also as someone in marketing, make sure that yes, you get the data, but no, take it with a grain of salt, right? Understand that that is not the full story. There's always more going on. So dig as deep as you can and have those conversations so you can get the full story or as close to the full story as you can. That is it. That is my tip for you today. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. You can always reach me over at my website, AV as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com. And you can reach me directly at info@avwritingservices.com. That's it. Have a great week and happy blogging, everyone.